have a little fun with this. What we see, what we observe here, what we glean from this collapse. All right, so we know it appears to be the crane collapse at the Champlain Towers, as reported in a June 30th, 2021 video. Going with that as acceptable data, then we go with, okay, we see a crane, we see that it fell over, a truck-mounted crane tipped over. There appears to be at the beach, and well, we have the columns here. We have a column turned in this direction. We have no columns in front of us. We have no formwork in front of us. We have no wall in front of us. We appear to be in the parking garage area, beach level, parking garage area. So this level will be the pool deck area. Oh, wait a minute. If this is the pool deck area, well, we wouldn't see more columns above, would we? So this is not the pool deck area, is it? This could be the main structure or another part of the structure. Let's let this go. You guys asked me to evaluate it. I'm just going to tell you what I'm going to see. You see a column turned sideways. You see a lot of reinforcement there. Looks like a little bit of gap between there. So you could possibly find this layout if you want to find that exact location. They use wooden forms. After this collapse, noteworthy, it appears that the concrete is not down yet. The base is not in concrete yet. And so this formwork would have when the crane hit it, would have driven down into the sand some more. And how did they put it back is the question. How did they put it back? Did they let's do this. Did they how much consideration did they give it when they put this back together? When here's the formwork, right? So this is the formwork. Some of it was driven down further than the rest as the crane impacted it. But at one time, it was all probably sitting on some nice little wood blocking, right? Some wood blocking. But then as the crane drove it down into hell, did they just come back and go, you know what, it settled a little bit. Let's just, you know what, because we don't want to buy more lumber. Yeah, we'll just make up the difference here, and we'll just add some little bit of shims. We'll add a little block here, a little brick there. We'll make up the height. We'll make up the height that way. We were not going to go buy new forms and all that. Let's get this thing going. So that's one way that could have happened in real life. Did they? How did they fix that? How was that remedied? Perhaps the contractor paid full out of pocket after the crane fell over. He said, my cost, my insurance paying for it all. They tore it all down and they redid this section over here from beautifully scratched from new. Maybe they took into consideration engineering and put some nice timbers down there and then loaded the propping on top of the timbers. That you asked me to evaluate. I'm just telling you that this stuff is what comes to mind in real world. Let's go to sorry about that. I got to pause it and move this out of the way. Let's get rid of that. So then we see the crane. Now, I just mentioned posts coming up. We see no posts coming up through the deck here. So it appears that this area there, and there's going through the deck, that could be our pool deck area. Because we don't edit when you scan for the when they pan with the crane on top of the deck, we don't see any more posts standing up. So it could be our parking garage area right there. It is about the tree base of the line. It appears to be the ocean and the sand. So from this perspective, and so it appears this might be the pool deck area, and to the right would be the garage area. Just speculating, because as you pull back like that, I see no other columns coming through, no other hint of columns coming through. Wait a minute. No other hint of columns coming through. I keep getting cut off with these phone calls, guys. This is my second time trying to do this. So there's the rotation, and the spin around the dolly. So this could be the parking garage area right here. We don't know. Well, look at the guy's cameras. You see that's the camera from that side. He was filming. This could be the front of the building because there's the cars. It could be the middle of the building. They're working their way out. We don't see anything else around there. So you're just asking me to do a video of this. I'm doing a video for it, giving you a take on it. The crane came across here from that side, I believe, and this is where it broke. Right there, it hinged there. And just happens not to deform their formwork much. You see the plywood and the top whalers, and whatever. They're not quite whalers. But you don't see this bent there. So it seems like it skipped over top of the outer edge of that formwork. So where's that formwork? That could be the 1'6" step down right about here. And these could be BMAs going in there. BMA. Well, they're supposed to be poured all together. This is interesting to me. This almost is like a prefab wall system. I don't know what this is. There's the beach there. There's a big opening here. Could that be where the pool is? Just, don't feed into me giving you ideas exactly. You look at it again yourself, and you try to figure it out. We don't see any columns though, so we see columns to the right. So this is probably more than likely the pool deck area, because you normally have the head sticking up, rebar sticking up at this point for the next floor. If it was the next floor coming, they're going to tie into. I don't see any rebar sticking up. So this, to me, I would be biasedly so saying this is the pool deck area. All right, so this is the way they did the forms back then. It was just wood. You put past each other, and there's these just like clamp wire. They're not quite clamps, but they're you turn them on an angle a little bit, and when you push them in there, they'll lock in. There's 3 sets of them. They're still used today, and there's 2 sets over here. And so you can extend this out further. But they're using with 2x4 spaced. I don't know what the spacing is, and you see the floor joist type deal up here, and then plywood over that. You can see they made their own ladders to get up and down. 1979, right? So there's a ladder they made on the job site with some nails. This formwork has already been stripped. It's already been stripped, so that's very telling also. You do have a guy wearing a hard hat, looking at photographs that they're going to do something with. But here is the homework. And this appears to be part of the crane crash. And then we look in the background, there's the beach. So I would say, looking at my phone, I would say United Rental. Okay, good. Awesome. I gotta make an order for a man lift for somebody. Awesome. So let me write this guy. I know I'm cutting into your video a little bit. Give me time here. Awesome. What time is it? Too late? No, too late for today. All right. So the plywood's here. So much for everybody telling me plywood was stolen. Corner of building. Yep, I got this around thereabouts pool deck. But what's this? What are these? What are these? This, I would have to say these might be parts of the next floor going up. So this will put it at the front left corner, and pool deck would be out here, possibly not even built yet. But if you ask me to evaluate it, I mean, it could be rebar sticking up here. And if it's rebar, you guys should be able to, a couple of you are really awesome. You should be able to triangulate where this fits in the building. I know a couple of you guys are pretty awesome with stuff like this, doing overlay. Then you would count that as a beam, and that one, I think this would be beam, column. So you can really dive into that if you want to see if you can overlay and consider these just the rebar sticking up. It's just if you consider it the rebar sticking up. I don't have it as, this is a photograph, so I don't have it as a digital anomaly. I have it as real data in there, but we just can't process it here. Hell, it could be a lot of things though, but it's too consistent with. Okay, so there's this crane. We got plywood in the background. Great. So we'll just cycle that again. So here is the stubs up, right, ready for the next deck. Concrete gets poured around it. So right here is where your punk shear is going to happen. They're going to connect this column to the deck. Very interesting. Very interesting. So this is the part that I really want to give you. What did I just say? I gave you enough data now, so I like to pause for a second and let you catch up in your brain. You can pause it if you want, but let me see if I can give you a hint, and then I want you to, and you can pause it if you like. This is concrete. We all agree this is concrete, right? We all agree this is formwork. We can all agree that there's no outside, there's plywood sitting on top of this formwork. It's where the crane hit. Let's say it again. Look at this concrete right here. So what does this tell you about the construction method? Is that, well, how did they tie the floor into the columns now? How did they, because this is concrete, that's concrete. I would think this is concrete. This one we can't see. What we can see, look, appears concrete, concrete, and concrete. Now, the purple is from photography even back then. Can you guys know what it's called? The purple fringing. I think I just gave you a tip. So anyway, it does it around white, like a white background, like leaves, everything. You'll get the purple fringing. And so there's our purple fringing here and here and here. See the purple? So that is white, but the photography-wise, it has a problem with distinguishing in the background with a white background, and you get the purple fringing. So we see purple down here, purple down here. All right. Concrete. So now they're going to lay their deck. So they're going to they already have the rebar in. So it was not monolithic. The base of the columns or the deck and the columns were not monolithically poured. They were poured separately. It appears the columns were poured and then the deck was added to side mount onto these friggin' columns. Crazy. Therein lies, why you get these different shear, the failure where we see it looks like, wow, where's the engagement? Well, I don't know. They stuck rebar in there through it and then formed around it and then poured the concrete columns, and then so it looks something like this. Let's try this. So let me open that one up. So it would look something like this. Let's do this. So this is the ground down here. That's already poured. We know that. We can see it, right? These columns aren't sitting on the air on top of a wooden deck. So let's add the wooden deck, not the concrete deck. Now let's add the wooden deck. So from there, let's add our rebar on top sticking out, ready for the rest of the next connection. So that's our rebar. Now we're going to pour concrete in here, but this has already been poured, so it's going to butt up to it. Whoops. So it's going to butt up to here also. How do you make this connection? Well, you would think either they doweled it, which they weren't really into doweling back then. You could dowel, but they weren't into epoxies and all that. So did they run rebar through here, right? Two pieces, two different directions, and then put the plywood up, put the plywood on, drill a hole, run rebar through it, and run rebar the other way. So drill holes and stick the rebar through it, and then pour the concrete, the columns right here. And then from there, they poured the concrete up to the columns, right? Get back over the column. So you asked me to give you what I can see from this, what I can glean from this. So then they poured there. So then these little ears, we know that they're sticking down at this point. This point they're turned down, right? In the failure mode, we see them like this, like rabbit ears. But in reality, probably look like this. And then when the deck failed, they bent. When the deck failed, let's move this one over to here. When the deck failed, they bent. Oh, you give me a curvature. I didn't ask for curvature. They failed. They bent like that. You guys see the rabbit ears on the in the brakes out there. And here, let's move this out of the way. Right here, these rebars. But look, take note, they're up. They're in the column, up and turned out. So I showed you the version going across. We see no version there. If the rebar was here and it stripped down, well, as it stripped down, if it was in the center line of this, it would have come across this rebar and it would have to roll around there, pull it down. Or it'd have to shear it off or deflect it. It's too nicely not there. So it appears that when they did this deck, when they did this column, let's get rid of that. So that was one version that they did this instead. So here's the wooden deck, there's the concrete. They did this instead. That's what we're looking at in the background over here. And they did it 4 times. I mean, literally they did it 4 times. We don't see it anymore. They did it at the corners. So right there, as you're building it, as if you could see from this deck, we would probably see 4 rabbit ears sticking up in 4 directions. Shit. We would see it sticking up in 4 directions. Over here, if we zoom in, we can see how far it went down. And it would be near the corners. Rabbit ears, rabbit ears, rabbit ears. And then the column still continues straight up. But it's still straight up over here. So that was for the deck. That's for the deck there. So keep that in mind. That's for the deck, the pool deck. That means you don't get this column. You get, come on, baby. So pool deck would be something like maybe that. And then this concrete cover would be over top of it like that. And you get the 4 rabbit ears. So that's pool deck and that's concrete. Now for the one we're looking at there, and the images, let's move it over, back over there a little bit. We get, either we get rabbit ears, or we get what we saw in the other ones, we get a full concrete through it. So I go back to here. Give me a second, I gotta do this. I gotta go back to here. I think it'll let me do this. Nope. Really? Okay. So I go back a page. It's loading. Give it a second. Shrink that down. Okay. So I'm looking for the garage area. And I think this is going to be good enough here. So over here, we see times 2. See how it goes through that column? 2 that way and maybe 2 that way. I only see 2. I don't see more. Perhaps there is more, but right now I only see 1 and I see 2. And possibly the other direction right here and here, I see 2 or possibly 3. So you ask me, what can I glean from this? So what I glean is that they've already put the concrete up this high. So this will be pool deck one. And with the rabbit ears. Now without rabbit ears, this would be what they probably did for, in one direction they put 2 of them. And here it is in the background on the left. So they go out maybe pretty, looks like they go out pretty decent, maybe about there. And maybe this one goes out about there. And so top and bottom. Rebar. Nope, no top and bottom. It's both at the top. Ooh, I screwed that. See the top? Here's the top of our slab. Our top of our slab is at the very top. Well, that's very telling, isn't it? You know the way I talk, I give you enough information. I slowly, actually I didn't post the other video either yet. So there's rebars up here times 2. Let's remove 1 and just show you what a rebar is. So this is conducive to puncturing in this capacity with this like that. It's conducive to that. Because we only have this little bit of concrete here over top of this concrete here. We want to stop it in tension and we want to hold it. We're only holding it at the top right here, which would be nice if you also had some down here, lower. So we don't have any lower. We just got high rebar apparently here. I don't see it. I mean, maybe it fell down and it pulled through this column here. But remember, this pour right here appears to align with this pour over here. You can put it somewhere else in the building, and the pool deck one maybe is part of that video as you rotate and look around. But I just want to share this to help you understand that, there is good data in the crane video. I just needed to work my way up to it. I wanted to, when I saw the crane video, I knew what I was looking at, engineering-wise, construction engineering-wise. I knew what I was looking at, that, okay, we got rebar in here ready for the deck. Somehow, how do they interlock it? I've got these images to worry about. But I had to first walk you up to the marriage, teach you about the marriage. And now you know the marriage is kind of weak because possibly when they didn't put this back, the shoring correctly. We got the husband in the wrong location here. We don't have enough husbands. We need some what do you call it? The Mormon type thing. We need a bunch of husbands. Not just one. We need a few. That's wives, right? The wives allowed to have husbands. Anyway, we need more husbands here. We need some more husbandry. That's and I don't mean like that's funny. That's a different word for contracting. But here we are. Here, the concrete's at the top, at the column here. That gives us more of why it failed over here with the concrete at the top, with that little bit of cover right here, and none at the bottom. That's indicative of right here. The concrete shows you how they were pouring, that they weren't really monolithically tying it in, that this is already done, and then the concrete was secondarily faced here, and that's why we probably see some nice tear off here, and so evenly so, because it was never, the columns were always made by themselves, separate from the deck. And there's the fracture there. All right, so that's my my data that I'm sharing with you right there, and I think the video has a touch more of information in it for you. Let's see. So this would be just me biasly stating data from now that, come on, pause. Let me screenshot this. And I'll get rid of it. Okay. So, that was interesting. That crane. All right. So again, there's the beach work. How well did he do it? The marriage. The marriage. That's what we want to talk about. The marriage of concrete. So the marriage, for it to be a nice marriage, you need it to have 28 days maturity. And if they jump too soon, meaning they remove their formwork below too soon, then we get concrete that's okay. So someone taught me how to copy this. So let's go Command Copy. Good. So let's do that. So then we got this rebar up here only, right? At the column area. So let's just do that column area. Let's just do a cutaway of it. And let's put the rebar in there, and it's angular shape, so I get to use these little triangles. So for the concrete, representing concrete. So you have a good idea where we're going with this. So anyway. So then we have the loading here, but this rebar is higher than that, possibly way to hell up there. And we only have this little bit of concrete above our supporting this deck. And as this deck is loaded, it's easy for it to break free of that little bit. Now, if it was down here, if we saw more rebar down there, it would have a little more tensile resistance, right? But we don't have that tensile resistance. So people ask me why the parking garage area. Well, look at the reinforcement. Look at the location of the reinforcement. It's high and not low. And therefore, what's left to do the structural support is here around the column. So that's why we also get that breaking. Well, now we would need to know more. Did they do that out in the deck area also? Well, they took a core sample, but it wasn't right there by one of these columns. It was kind of all over the place a little bit. And then they added this extra dead weight. But nevertheless, I don't care what any core sample says. I know what we see right here. We're seeing high reinforcement. With if that being the deck right there, we're seeing, friggin' inch and a half below the top layer, which is not where you're supposed to be. Well, you're supposed to have a lot more here, but also low here. So high and low, because this is going to be. It needs to do high and low at this point. I don't want to go. That's too deep of a video to start trying to teach you that, and I'll get to that. I got a lot of concrete videos to do, but you'll be able to say, oh yeah, and back to this one. That correlates back to here, right? Why you would need it high and low here, because it's like a little I'll give you a hint. It's like a little cantilever. So cantilever, you want it high, but wait a minute, but it's in tension also. So then we don't want it high, we also need it low. So part of this is in cantilever mode, if you will, and part of it is in dead load, span load, just trying to make it simple for you. Part of it simple spans, like that. So, but, all right, that's the end of the video. I just want you, hopefully you'll follow that why this makes it so weak over here in the garage area is because this is so high. And it only takes this little bit to fracture it off. That little bit to fracture, I guess, let's see below it, right. So, went back up there, back up. So that's the thickness of the concrete. So it only takes a little bit for it to fracture off as the loads are down this direction, right? So our loading is this direction from vehicles. Let me try this fancy one again. Our loading is this direction. Top vehicles are on top. And our forces are coming down like that. And the middle span especially, we start stressing this, and then we get our failure around here. We see it down here with my mouse. Look at my left mouse, down here. So we see that there, and then we also see how long it engages. Ending the video, just wanted to show you how that tied in the parking garage, how the concrete mattered, what you saw there, how that shows you how they were actually engaging it secondarily. Columns first, pads second. Columns first, pads second. Did they add expansion here? I don't see any expansion around these columns. I don't know what that's like for Florida, but I don't see any expansion around the columns. But we do have these car loads, right? Wanting to play along. Uh-oh, just found out something else. Okay, I'm getting better with my toys. Tick tock, tick tock, tick tock, tick tock until it falls. Bye. Again, the marriage wasn't. Oh, that's what it was. The marriage. So if they moved too quickly and took the forms out, the marriage is never consummated, and you get some breaking. Remember, I talked about that. I showed you get some breaking. You get your bond break. Okay, look up bond breaking in mortars and bond breaking in tile setting, and you'll understand what I mean. That if you move it too soon, you can get a bond break. That's why maturity matters. 28 days. Back then, it was definitely a lot of days that mattered. 14, 28 days. It was no 7 or 3 day stuff going on, allowed. But anyway, that's Florida, so I got to shut up. 1976 code. You got to remember that. So, but the other floors didn't fail. So this is critical, this floor. Possibly because of maybe the bond breaking always took place after that crane, and then they jumped too soon. They had it sitting on sand. Their formwork, after you load the concrete on top of there, and those forms being set on sand, they set downwards. They did a set. They did a depression downwards. So let me get rid of this. Don't save. So being set on sand. After you load it with concrete, maybe they creep down. And when they creep down over a few days, they broke the bond. The concrete and rebar bond possibly broke because it looks like they're setting it on. I don't know what the base is, so I'm speculating on that, but I'm giving you something that starts us off with a shitty deck to begin with. And incidentally, if we look at the other towers, the one I posted today, remember I tie things in. Remember, its first floor also had a problem with the deck. Maybe that's the inherent problem. The simple smoking gun is that they are they're setting up nice formwork, then they're loading it with concrete, and then they're loading that deck real soon thereafter to start the next formwork, and they're getting a bond break of their rebar. So you get these parking garages that first were started on a sand base, that the bond break, the marriage between the husband and the wife, they were in separation. They got separation early in the marriage. All right, that's giving you something to think about. Bye.